Yo, looking at my Gucci, it's about that time. Yeah, it's time to... You ever see people at church like that? It be some people at church that just got super rhythm. I remember this black woman, she was going in. She was clapping all over she was going in, no tambourine necessary with her. As a matter of fact, I think they nicknamed her tambourine in the church. She was just going in, boy. She could hit that thing. Man, it's 8:18. I should be watching Thursday night football. But I thought, I've been seeing too many videos about this going on, from Christian content creators to whoever. And I thought, what do I know? But let's weigh in on this. First things first, welcome to CNN. I am your host, the underdog, Kirk Kennedy. Let's go in. On this channel, we take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. All right? So that's what we do on this channel. We try our best to stay balanced and all of that. Now, by staying balanced, we don't mean that we're neutral. We have chosen a side. You know, it's funny, when you, especially in the political world, I don't know if you all remember 2020. All right. How could you forget? 2020 was a tumultuous political year. And it was all this drama, right? All this vitriol. And a lot of it was like COVID. And then the race stuff just all came to a head with the murders of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and then the black dude with the white woman that said she's going to call the police at Central Park and say that he was attacking her or whatever, and then she videotaped it. It was a crazy time, and you didn't know. This is when everybody was. You would have been imitating Bill Cosby if he hadn't have been charged with all them charges. You'd have been like, sometimes it seems like the pudding is all of the things and the things that we take into the. It was just a crazy time. It was people just easily offended, and that hasn't subsided that much. This election cycle is a little different, though. This is different than 4 years ago, because 4 years ago, we were cooped in the house. People didn't know if you was going to, how, I don't know if you know this, but like the whole thing when they say, when you sneeze, they say, bless you, God bless you, is because like, I think it was the Black Plague. There was some plague that was devastatingly killing people, and when people got sick, sometimes they would sneeze. It eventually led to their death. So you would sneeze and people would say God bless you, because they weren't saying it as a courtesy. They thought, oh, this might mean you getting ready to die. And in 2020, we were all on edge because we were cooped up in the house. All we had was social media. It was legacy media versus social media. But social media was winning because everyone was recording stuff with their cell phones, and legacy media would be like, who can put the most craziest videos? And everyone thought, oh, and it was all these conspiracy theories, and there was all this stuff going on, and you didn't know, should you get the jab? And then Trump was saying that he's responsible for it, but then when Biden went, nobody wanted to get it, and it was like, we don't know what's in the jab, and you had people saying they're not doing it, and you had people, and it was just insane. It was a crazy time 4 years ago. And this election cycle is not as volatile because there's less going on. I think many people in wisdom do not want to go back to what 2020 was. But this election cycle is wild nonetheless. And it always is. It always feels like we're told that this is going to change the fate of our nation. Like whoever sits in the White House these next 4 years, and this is coming from believers too. It's actually disconcerting to hear Christians talk like this, but a lot of them do. So I have been watching. First of all, if I'm being honest, I haven't been posting as much because some of it is just like around this time, everyone's just talking about the same stuff, man. And I got a lot of Christian content I could post. I could do that. But I've been also busy doing some other things, and I got some things going on. But a lot of it's just been the same stuff, man. And everything is about the election, and I get it. This is what America is. When the election comes, this is when everybody locks in, right? Who we going, all this stuff, right? So I've been seeing everything from like these conservative, like these Jubilee, like one conservative versus 25 liberals. So I saw like Charlie Kirk take on 25, and now there's a new one. Ben Shapiro takes on, and I haven't watched them. I think those are all entertaining and stuff like that. I've watched from the you just watch. It's clear who everybody wants, who people want to win. Like if you're a conservative, if you're Megyn Kelly and them, or you're on that side, there's not Kamala Harris can't say anything that's not evil if you're on that side. And if you're on the left, I mean, you can't. Did Trump really work at McDonald's? Like I'm still traumatized by seeing Trump stuffing fries in his face. Was that real or was that AI? I didn't even look into it. I just saw it and busted out laughing. Because if Trump is working at McDonald's, actually, if he did go into a McDonald's and was working the fries, let's say that was real and it wasn't a AI joint, right? And you tell me in the comment section. I don't know if that was real or not. I haven't been locked in as much lately, but I'm coming back, but I haven't been. But if that was real, then that goes to show you the depths of, because you know good and well, Trump ain't never worked at no McDonald's. He been silver spoon his whole life. He might not have hardly even eaten at McDonald's. So to be working back there is just to try to get votes. And this is what they do. They used to call it shaking hands and kissing babies. Now people, because abortion is such a big deal, don't nobody even want to kiss no babies no more. And now that COVID has been gone, is around, ain't nobody letting their babies get kissed by nobody, you know? So it's a crazy time, right? So I'm watching all this stuff go around, all right? I'm watching all this stuff. And all these videos are about vote. So I thought let's have a little fun. And let me ask the question. How are y'all voting? How are y'all voting? I watched earlier today, I watched my homie Ruslan, do a video with a dude that was like a Republican, a dude that I think was sort of saying why he thought Kamala, I don't know if he's a Democrat. I think he wasn't a Democrat. He was saying he thought Kamala was a better candidate. Had another dude that was kind of weighing in, and then Jerusalem weighed in on his stuff. I watched some of that today. I've seen a bunch of these videos, right? I'll usually watch some of the deep conservative ones. I get a good laugh when I watch like them, Megyn Kelly and them act like that if Kamala Harris takes a deep breath, it's a lie. And the same thing on the left. I'll watch the left too. Watch them act like whatever Trump says, anything Trump says is of the devil. And then I watch those in the middle that just kind of call it word salad and all this stuff. And I get entertained by the banter, but I'm also just tired of it. I was actually just driving to go pick up food for my boys, and I was praying to the Lord about just like how boring the world has become. And not that I'm ready to, I mean, the Lord's going to do what the Lord's going to do. I'm not ready to go home yet because there's some things I want to do to serve my church, my family, and things like that I would like to be around a little longer. But it's become so like even among the church, man, the church is so gone, in America at least. It's so gone. People that you thought were solid. And I'm not even talking about like the Steve Lawson type stuff. I'm just saying like does anybody love, this is why guys like Philip, was it Anthony Mitchell? I'm glad that the Lord's raising a dude up like that. Protect that man. May he be genuine. Because it's almost like, man, does anybody love God anymore? Does anybody who professes to be a believer care about the character that God requires anymore? Does anybody love God anymore? It's like, why is everyone so dramatic about like decisions about all this stuff, right? So I was just praying to the Lord and just saying, man, Lord, it's just getting played out, to be honest. And that's partly why I haven't been on YouTube as much. I'm just bored. It's just boring my feed is just the same stuff, especially around this time in politics. But I thought, you know what? Let's have a conversation. How are y'all voting? How are y'all voting? Because all these people, can you be a Christian and vote Democrat? I don't see many videos that say, can you be a Republican and vote Democrat? But I see a few that pop up, and there may be some. Maybe y'all see them. Obviously, my feed is not the world, right? But I do see a few of those. can you be a Christian and vote Democrat? And obviously. So I just thought, and people are going to disagree with this and probably unsubscribe. I haven't been posting a lot lately, so I've lost like 10 subscribers or something. And I mean, I wish they would have stayed. I want the channel to grow, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't really care. Like, life is life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy going to the comments, going to the tape, seeing what y'all talking about in the comment sections. I enjoy. I'm sure we'll do that at the end of this little stream. But I mean, my life doesn't revolve around if people agree or disagree. And when it comes to politics, I don't expect people to. But I just want to let's have this because I'm really thinking about the upcoming election. But let me tell you, I could be wrong, and I don't like when people say like, well, but I just want to tell you how I think about these things, and it may or may not be helpful. Most of my videos, when I start a video, I start off posting this particular verse. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. So this verse, around maybe about 12 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, I started to think about things from this perspective. I started to think vertical before I thought horizontal. And I think, again, I'm not unique. I'm not special. I'm flawed to the bone gristle. But I'm not faking. I'm not faking. I expose the left and the right. I'll expose the black culture and white culture. Latino, I don't care. You know, I don't care about that because I think that's what we're supposed to do as believers. We're supposed to not show any partiality, no favoritism. So I don't care if you're from the hood like me or if you're from the woods like you. I'm saying something. I don't care who you are. If I see it, I'm gonna say it. So I've been paying attention. So when I think about things, and this maybe it's the sign of maturity, what I start with is not, what are their policies? Like, we're going to stay in the political realm today, right? I don't start with, what are their policies? I start with, Lord, what are you revealing to us? What are you exposing about us? Because here's the other thing. So I believe that God, I look at the world from what is God exposing, and then I look at stuff like First Peter 4, right? For righteousness begins in the household of God. Right? And then it says, if the righteous are scarcely saved. That's 1 Peter 4. If the righteous are scarcely saved, what will become of the ungodly and sinner? I do not think the vast majority of Christians think like that. We be having these stupid conversations about once saved, always saved, and with our chests out acting like, and we just ignore, like when James was like, turn your joy into mourning. You know what I'm saying? We forget the Beatitudes when Jesus said he gave 9 characteristics of people that will be in heaven. And one of them were like hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are those who mourn. Like, that's gone. Everybody's just focused on like this horizontal stuff, no vertical. Remember in Psalm 51 when David said, against you and you only have I sinned? Of course that wasn't true. You sinned against Uriah, his whole family, Bathsheba, the whole nation of Israel. But he understood his vertical, right? So when I think about politics, and this is where people got offended at me because I have chosen a side, but they don't like the side that I've chosen. Everyone thinks because they're a Christian that whatever they support is Christian, and it's not true. Just because you believe in Jesus doesn't mean what you support is definitively of the Lord, because the Lord doesn't give there is not a Bible verse that you will find in a credible translation that will clearly tell you how you should vote in the democratic society that we live in. I don't care what verses people use. At best, they're trying to apply the Bible, which is good, to the current situation. But people talk so tough, as if like their perspective is that, and we all good do that. I want to communicate with passion and with a sense of urgency, but man, we could all just be wrong. But I think there's a sense in 1 Peter 4 when it says if the righteous are scarcely saved, it means barely saved. And you got all these people with their chests out acting like they're super Christians because they're conservative or they would never do this or that. And God's perspective is you are scarcely saved. Scarcely means you getting in by the hair of your chinny chin chin. You are scarcely saved. And a lot of believers just don't even act like that. Be doing all these videos, all talking tough about who's what and who's this and who's that. Man, when Jesus comes back, it ain't going to just be the non-believers that are going to be terrified, because that's when all the believers are going to be like, oh no, a lot of the stuff I stood for, I should have been sitting down. So I try to stay balanced, because I think, when I think politically, I think about it, I always think, Lord, what are you exposing? What are the deeds of darkness you're exposing? I don't think, what are the deeds of darkness you're exposing on the left? And I just fixated on that. How could you vote? I don't think, what are the deeds of darkness on the right? I think, what are the deeds of darkness that you're exposing? And I think the righteous are scarcely saved. I want to humbly recognize, man, I am scarcely saved. Scarcely saved. And judgment begins at the household of God. So we've seen all these things happen. People's getting revealed, sins being revealed and exposed. Judgment begins at the household of God. John MacArthur recently commented on Steve Lawson's failure. And I think I agreed, which I don't often agree with John MacArthur, but I think I agreed with his assessment that God is purifying his church. So I'm glad for guys like a Philip Anthony Mitchell, that he's just preaching, he sees it. I hope he stays focused, and because it's a wild time. But when I think about politics, I think, what is the Lord exposing? I don't think about the policies first, because I don't. Because you know why? Let me tell you why. Because this is what, and I can't prove this because I'm not the Lord, but here's what I honestly think. If we were to just put all the policies, first of all, many of us don't even know all the policies of the political camps that we're adamant about. Some people are astute in their understanding of what's happening. Many of us are just not. We just know they're for abortion, or they're for gay rights, or they're for immigration and gun life. We just know we know the neon, right? We don't know all the policies. But I believe if you were to take all of the policies from the left and the right, take away who was with what, mash them all up and lay them on the table, and Christians would go in and pick out, what do you think best glorifies God? I promise you, there would be, depending on the wording, we would put together stuff that both sides believe. I really believe that. What we react to often is the platform. Oh, that's the left. That's the right. And these are the policies that I hate, right? And that's fine. That's how we react, but we don't think about, like, there's no one who is all evil and all good. It's just impossible. And largely because politics, the vast majority of politics are run by non-Christians. Non-Christians run the country, not Christians. And I think Christians have been woefully deceived at the somewhat opportunity that God has given us to be in a democratic society where on some level our voting matters. Let's be clear, there's only certain states that really matter because of the Electoral College. Rarely does those states, like I'm in Maryland, I'm a blue state. If I vote for Trump, Kamala Harris is getting them because of that's how it is, right? Most states function in that way, but that's not today's conversation. But there's a certain level of, in the same way, like we have a certain level of autonomy, we think we have more than what we do. We think we're in control of things more than what we are. Listen, if the Lord decided Kurt is not going to remember who he is or what he's doing, if he said that right now, I couldn't stop him. I'll be talking to you and be like, what? Why is this camera on? And you all be like, man, Kurt Kennedy is funny dude. And then after about a minute of me, you'd realize, like, wait a minute, he's either really acting or something's wrong. We don't have the ability to. That's why I think the arguments over did you choose God or were you chosen by God are stupid. You let me tell you why they're stupid. Because I'm using that word intentionally. They're stupid. They're stupid though. Let me tell you why. Because no one can make a decision to believe in God unless he gives you the cognitive ability to understand what the gospel message is saying, unless he gives you the physiological ability to breathe and have your brain chemistry work in such a way where you're making, no one is self-existing. So whether you chose God or chosen by God, you were still dependent on God for salvation no matter what. It doesn't matter. The reality is it's a stupid argument. It's a very wonderful scheme of the devil to have us fighting over things that in the grand scheme, even the devil is dependent on God for his existence. He's created. He's not a creator, but we just be going at it. Ugh. So I like to think vertical. God, what are you exposing? And that's how I start. So that's how we're going to talk tonight. I'm not worried about the policies right now. We've heard all about the policies. We know in large part what the left thinks. We know in large part what the right thinks. And let's be clear, they change them according to whatever the polls are that show where they're at. They will adjust what they think to win the vote. Because at the end of the day, unbelievers run the government. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that these are the people that we call friends. Friends, how many of us have them? That's actually a relevant song, even though y'all know nothing about that 1983 Houdini joint, right? Shouts to y'all if you know about that. But the country is run by non-believers. Christians, I'm sorry. You can think Trump is the Cyrus or whatever. I do not think Trump is a Christian. I'm not judging him. I'm judging the fruit that he bears. He's not a believer. I do not think Kamala Harris, she'd be in a black church with a little bit of rhythm. Joe Biden was sitting there looking around like the Joker the whole time. She got a little rhythm. Cool. I don't think she loves the Lord at all. They got a video of her telling some Christian, you in the wrong place. We're in the wrong place as believers. This is not our home, but we fight like it is. It's interesting because in the hood, we used to say this all the time. Man, we killing each other for blocks that don't belong to us. We shooting at each other and we shooting guns at each other, and these streets don't even belong to us. It's and if you extend it, the gang, and you know what's interesting too? For a long time, the most popular gang in America were Crips and Bloods, red and blue. You know where I'm going with this, right? What's the gang that's more popular than them? The Democrats and the Republicans, the elephant and the donkey, red and blue, right? Isn't that funny? Our police lights are often red and blue. I just think it's hilarious. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in providence, right? I think the politicians are the biggest gangsters, because they're the ones who make the decisions that affect our lives, right? And many of them have no regard for Christ, no matter what they tell you. Many of them do not. I don't know when's the last time we had a legitimate Christian. People said George W. Bush was a legitimate believer. I don't know. I don't know when's the last time we had a legitimate believer sitting at White House. I don't know. And by legitimate, it's just I don't know their life. Like George W. Bush was the last one I heard. Mitt Romney was not. He was religious, but he wasn't a Christian. Having said that, if we start with, Lord, what are you exposing? Like, what are you showing us? Right? The question is, how are y'all voting? Now, let me tell you what I mean by this. I do not mean who are you voting for. That's how most people, maybe some of you in the chat are voting and are already fighting over who you would pick. When I say how are y'all voting, I'm thinking vertically what God is exposing, not what person you're endorsing. So let me explain what I mean. I believe that the kingdom of heaven that we hear about, Jesus said it's not a place where you can say the kingdom of heaven is there. He said the kingdom of heaven is within you, in your midst. Now, there are a couple different interpretations of that. Some people think Jesus meant the kingdom of heaven is in your heart. Some people think, well, he couldn't have said that because the Pharisees were there too, people who didn't believe. So he meant the kingdom of heaven. He's the kingdom of heaven that's within you, right? But the point being was that the kingdom of heaven we're supposed to live like we're in the kingdom of heaven. When Jesus told us to pray in Matthew 6, and he said, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, right? So that was the location. We're supposed to live according to what? We're supposed to live according to the kingdom of heaven, as if by faith. So if you think about what the kingdom of heaven is, it's not the kingdom of heaven, it's not causes or circumstances. What we're taught how to live is about character. So for us, right now, we know that there's a kingdom of heaven with a location, but right now the kingdom of heaven is the character that we have. That's what we have. That's what we have. And let me tell you something. All the talk about if you vote Christian, I see this all the time on Facebook. I saw it today. If you vote Christian, you are flawed. If you vote Democrat, you're a flawed. How could you? The reality is this. We're going to give an account to God, not for what policies we support or any of that. I mean, that can be a part of it. We're going to give an account to God for the character that we imitated or refused to imitate in this world. So the kingdom of heaven, all believers, I think, should think of the kingdom of heaven right now as the kingdom of character. So let me ask you again, how are y'all voting? How are y'all voting? Now, before we get to that part, let's start with What is God exposing? What is God exposing? Now, y'all know I try not to throw anybody under the bus, or I try to talk in terms and not really call people things. But Jesus said, look, judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. Everyone says, oh, you're not supposed to judge other. Jesus said, judge a tree by the fruit that it bears, okay? So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this succinctly because I don't want to make a 2-hour video, because the comment section, y'all on and popping, and it looks like we're going to get over there soon, all right? Here's the reality, and I don't care what side you vote for. You can be offended at me or not, but don't be angry at that I'm saying something about who you're voting for. If you're a believer in particular, prove me wrong from the scriptures. Don't prove me wrong from how you felt. Prove me wrong from what I'm about to say from the scriptures. Here's the reality, right? And this is just this is the fruit that I think they've borne. Kamala Harris, President Trump, to me, are one and the same in many ways. Yes, they're male and female. Yes, they're Democrat, Republican. But when I think vertically, I'm not talking about policy. I'm not talking about the Constitution is not my authority. The scripture is, right? I live in America, so we submit to but it's not my authority. My Constitution is 66 books. It's called the Bible, right? They're one and the same to me. And this is what I mean. And I'm going to say some negative things, but just remember that Paul said, look, the Cretans are lazy and gluttons. And he quoted it, and he said that proves to be true, all right? Here's the reality, whether you like this or not. I don't care who you're voting for. Whoever you vote for, I truly believe they're made in the image of God, but we're still sinful, and God calls out the sin. I think whoever you vote for, you are voting for a pathological liar. First and foremost, you are voting for a pathological liar who has shifted positions and who changes perspectives in order to win votes. And they go by, you're voting for a pathological liar who is thirsty for power, who wants the power of sitting in that particular office, the White House, right? Trump had it once, so he knows what it's like. Kamala Harris observed it from a distance and knows that. But they're pathological liars, right? They do not have a desire to glorify God. I don't care what we only in America, right, do we think when someone says I'm a Christian or uses Christian language that we throw out everything else about their character that they've demonstrated. We only in America do we do that. Jesus had a category for people who use Christian language, who agree with him on things. Remember when the lawyer, I think it was a lawyer, came up and said to him, he said, what are the greatest commandments, right? And then Jesus said, love the Lord with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. If you do these, you will live. And the dude was like, man, you're right. The Bible does say that you should love the Lord with all your heart, mind, and strength. And the Bible does say, love your neighbor as yourself. You were right. You've spoken well, teacher. You've spoken correctly. And Jesus said this to him, you are not far from the kingdom. Let's be clear what Jesus was saying. You're not a Christian yet. Meaning, even though you agree with me, even though you're saying the right things, if you die right now, you will not be in paradise with me like the thief on the cross was. Because you're not far from the kingdom. You're close. In America, we have completely thrown out this reality. So if someone, especially if it's politics, and Trump starts talking like, well, we just got to trust the Lord. The fruit that he is born does not convince me. I'm not trying to judge him, but I'm not also going to just let anybody in to the sheepfold just because you use good language. I mean, we had theologians that were preaching sound doctrine that were wolves. You're not going to fool me just because you want to believe that this president or she went to church and I think God is saying they're both pathological liars. Their policies are somewhat different. They're after power. They do not have a desire to glorify God. They ultimately do not care about the things of the church. Keep in mind that Trump's son, about 2 months ago, said that he didn't say evangelical issues, but the interview, I think of Nora O'Donnell, she was asking him about things that basically Christians care about. And he said, those are spots in the basement, holes in the basement. Spots in the basement, we have to deal with the holes in the roof. And he was saying like immigration and different things were more important than the things that we care about, like the life of the unborn, about what marriage is, and about the increase of imposed sexuality on, those are things we care about. And he said that. He switched on all these things, right? So once you get behind him, I should have put this up. I had a quote from a couple tweets from Al Mohler, the president of the Southern Seminary, was basically concerned and saying we need to hold Trump to account because he's flip-flopping on all the things that we trusted him for. This was like a couple weeks ago, right? They do not care about our interests. They care about our vote. They care about our willingness to support them because they want to get in the White House. If you do not think that there's an agenda that both Kamala and Trump have, I would humbly submit to you that you really lack discernment and you're focusing on the horizontal and not the vertical. What is God exposing? Think about this for a second. Think about who the candidates for president have been the last few years. Think about this for a second. In 2020, we had two old white dudes, right? One dude who is so divisive that he two words became the word of the year in 2017, fake news, right? And some of it was fake news, but fake news became so significant that anything that you disagreed with was fake news. It didn't have to be objectively understood or nothing. Anytime that they accused Trump of something that he did, fake news, okay? But think about this for a second. On the conservative side, we have a convicted felon. A convicted felon running for president. Never in the history of America would you have thought that. Now, if you're a conservative, here's what you're going to say. That was a sham trial. It was this, it was that. So you're telling me that the entire justice system, that every judge that was involved, all of that, is a Democrat and wanted Trump to be a felon. That's what you're saying. Okay, if you think that that's true, then why are some of his top lieutenants all convicted? They're in prison. So you mean to tell me that his closest advisors, lawyers, financial advisors who did things, who got caught lying, they're in prison now, he was innocent, he was the godly one, but they're all bad dudes? No, birds of a feather flock together, right? Do two agree together? Do two walk together unless they agree to do so? That's Amos 3:3, right? You know, bad company corrupts good character. Trump, think about this. On one side, we have a convicted felon who is proven to be a habitual liar, pathological with it, who is vulgar and not interested in unity, but chumping the people who disagree with him. How do you tell people that your vice president, who is a born-again Christian from what I understand, Mike Pence, you have people ready to hang him in the White House on June 6th because he wouldn't do what you said? And now this dude will not endorse Trump, a guy who worked closely with him for 4 years. And people would trust Trump over Mike Pence, who I've heard is a godly dude. This is who God has as a presidential candidate of America. And this is one who many Christians are fawning over. This immoral man, married on multiple occasions, all the values that we have, we do not see them in him. We just think he passed a couple of laws. Well, who cares? He had some judges get rid of abortion, get rid of Roe v. Wade and all of that. As if God is sitting in heaven like, yes, they finally put that law down. Yes, thank you. I'm so glad I raised up Trump for this moment. We're talking about God here, fam. What if, now this is going to definitely hurt some people's feelings. What if the abortion rate, right? What if the number of abortions is America, God allowing America to reap what it's sown for all of the children that they killed from slavery? But I don't want to sound too woke, so let's not stay there. And then to the eugenics project. Do you all remember eugenics? Where the government forcibly sterilized a lot of people, not just black, poor white people, all these different, any immigrants. There was a period where it was law. Now, I could pull up the data, but I'm not doing that today. I'm just talking. You can look this up yourself. The eugenics project in America lasted to the 1940s. And do you know that one of the chief eugenicists went and helped Germany start their campaign, and Adolf Hitler in his, what's it called? Kempf, or whatever that doc that was talking about. He got a lot of his ideas that ended up terrorizing and what they call it, attack, killing Jew from the eugenics program in America. Forced sterilization for decades that was codified as law. Not letting people have children, trying to create a specific society of white hair, blonde hair, blue-eyed, all of that. This was America, not Germany. And then the chief eugenicist went to Germany and helped him start what he did, which led to the Holocaust, some of the training for the Holocaust. What if, this is the thought, what if America doing that for all these years and then establishing this thing so that a guy would go to Germany and then that would be the impetus in which the Jews were slaughtered for 6 years. What if the abortion rate in America is it's reaping what it's sown for its sin that transitioned its way to Israel, that caused many of God's initial chosen people to be brutalized, that were inspired by the American eugenics program, the racism in America, which was a Christian nation? What if? You're probably offended for those of you who think that way, and I'm totally fine with it. I'm not saying it is, but what if? What if? So we have on one side a convicted felon, a pathological liar, a man who's confessed and bragged about touching women inappropriately, caught on camera, all these things, and people are acting like, who cares? He got rid of this policy. That's horizontal thinking. God is exposing that. Then on the other side, you have Kamala Harris. Pathological liar. One of the lowest rated, I think the second lowest rated vice president in history, I think she's behind Dick Cheney. There was a time, I don't know why people didn't like Dick Cheney. Maybe because they went hunting and he shot a dude off some old House of Cards type stuff, like Frank, like, hey, let's go hunting. Black, and shot the dude. I don't know. People didn't like Dick Cheney. I don't know. Vice presidents in America drift in the background. I don't know why you like them or don't like them. But then you have Kamala Harris. Habitual liar. Identifies with her melanin when it serves her purposes, right? If you listen to the conservatives, she slept her way to the top. What did Trump do? He's been married 3 times. Multiple times, right? I watch all these videos, see all these things about Candace Owens exposing Kamala Harris. She's a pathological liar. She claims to be for the black vote, but she, as Tulsi Gabbard exposed in the 2020 in that big Republican debate, exposed, in a Democratic debate, Tulsi Gabbard's a Republican now, so I was thinking about, but she exposed Kamala Harris. It was like the people's elbow. Do you smell what the Rock is cooking? Boom. She did the Randy, ooh yeah, Macho Man Randy Savage. She put that, man, she hurt him. She put him in the Jake the Snake. She put her in the Jake the Snake DDT. Boom. And just exposed that you locked up men for like weed and gave them an inordinate amount of prison time, which disrupted black families in California. And then Kamala Harris is like, let's be clear, I'm the only one who prosecuted criminals. Well, some of your prosecution was criminal. That's proven. She plays the rate. She's a pathological liar. She clearly, at least if the video is right, if the video of her mocking the believer, saying you're at the wrong, I haven't seen the whole thing. I've watched clips of it, but I know how they did it. They said that Trump said some things that when you splice them a certain way, but on the left, she's evil. She does not care about the agenda. She doesn't tell the truth, and she has avoided any kind of straight up and down policy stuff. She put on her website that she wants to help black men by getting rid of the federal weed laws or whatever, so that as if like all black people are just like, hey, I'm voting for Kamala, dog. Like, is it like, what are we, stupid? Like, she's insulting our intelligence. You know, these are things that she's done. And think about this. There's a lot more I could say, but I think you get the point. This is who God is saying, I'm allowing to, one of them will be your president. So what do you think God, who is sovereign over all of it, and if you don't use that word, who you believe is in control of all things, what do you think God is trying to show us? What is he exposing about America that these are the two people that are going to be fighting for president? Now, let's be clear. Kamala Harris, they didn't even like her. The only reason why she's there, and I've said this before, was because we all saw that Joe Biden didn't even know what he was talking about in the debate against Trump. And then they were like, we can't pretend. They had to put, and they couldn't put someone else in because of the PAC money. You get all this money given to whoever's the ticket, and the ticket was Biden and Harris again. And since Biden dropped out, they would have lost millions and tens of millions of dollars because that PAC money. It's like, so in a church, right? I'm a pastor of a church, lead pastor, and what you have is like there's restricted funds, right? That means if you have restricted funds, that money can only be used for whatever it's restricted to. So like if someone says, hey, I want to give $10,000 to creating a book drive in the church, well, we cannot use that money for sound equipment because it's a restricted fund. It was for this purpose. If we do not use it for that purpose, then we have to give it back to the people, and they can be willing to change what they want it to be used for, but it's a restricted fund. So in a similar way, when they give money to like the candidates, that money can only be used for that candidate and whoever's on the ticket. So when Biden stepped down from when he came to his senses and stepped down, right? In order for that, all those millions of dollars, because you need that to win, you got to, it ain't like they got all this money. Politicians probably make a couple $100,000 a year, but you ain't got enough money to fund no campaign. You got to get that from donors and different people, right? Corporations and things get money. So in order for her to get that money, she had to be on the ticket. And now all of a sudden, she's our gal. Joy is the new thing. Now, joy is a fruit of the spirit. The joy you were trying to promote was not joy at all. It was foy. That joint was fake joy, right? And you see it with Obama just coming at black dudes as if like we don't want to vote, we don't want to see a woman in the White House, as if the vast majority of black dudes weren't raised by a woman. I was raised by a woman. My dad wasn't around. I was raised by a woman, so I got a problem with voting having a black woman in, right? It's all this stuff, right? Politics is there to insult our intelligence, and unless you're a believer thinking vertical, then you're not. I'm not saying don't vote. What, would you just not vote? I ain't say that. What I'm saying is understand what's happening. Look at what God is showing us, that these are the two candidates. When we say the lesser of two evils, we mean it. But when you just think horrible, when you think constitutionally, or you just think light biblically, you think, oh, you just can't vote for this because that's just that. God opposes that, so that's that. God is sovereign over the abortions. And I think when it's all said and done, there's a lot of things that God did in the Old Testament that are like, wow, he just like went hard a little bit like that. He said, kill all of the Amalekites. Rip the nursing mothers, the children from the nursing mothers, and rip. He wasn't like, don't I care about the children. Children are a gift from me. He said, kill all of them peoples. So let's not act like, oh, God's in heaven, like, oh, please end this. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't care about it. I think we should. I do believe that if there were puppies that were being killed, America would be up in arms. I do believe that. It's an owner's right to choose. Ain't nobody vying for that. It's an owner's right to choose. I'm killing my pet. Would nobody do that? So I get it. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is I think it's more going on than we give ourselves credit for. We're too horizontal. We're blind. Do you know in when David committed sin with Bathsheba? This was wild to me. One of the wildest things about David committing sin with Bathsheba. Here's the wildest part to me. Doesn't have to be for you. It wasn't the sin what David did. That he saw Bathsheba he was on the balcony, saw her bathing, had her come up. He knew who she was, had sex with her, and then had Joab bring her husband home so that he He was an army general. So look, send Uriah home so he can sleep with his wife, so David can hide the fact that she got pregnant, and then he could say it was his baby. But he was too like, nah, I can't do that, man. My homies are in there fighting. I can't do that. So then he comes back. All right. He goes back. David says, man, send him to the front lines where the fighting is the fiercest. Right. He gets killed, and then David can now marry her, and there's no one knows about it. Do you know that's not the wildest part? Here's the wildest part. In 2 Samuel 12. Nathan, the prophet, comes to David, tells him a story of a rich man who had hundreds of sheep and cattle, had a friend coming to visit, and there was a poor man who had one little ewe lamb that he loved like a daughter, took care of it, fed it, he loved it like his own. And the rich man, when he knew his friend was coming, instead of taking one of the very many lambs that he has, took from that poor man's ewe lamb, had it killed to serve his friend. And David was erratic. He deserves to die. And Samuel said, you are the man. And then he said, thus says the Lord, and he walks through what David did. And then David says, I have sinned against the Lord. David didn't even realize what he'd done and how serious it was until that serious sin. David didn't even get it until Samuel came to him. He was blind until Samuel pointed out, you are an evil dude, my friend. And David was a man after God's own heart. He was blind to how serious it is. If David can be that blind, then all of us are. And I see a lot of blindness in my brothers and sisters today in two ways. One, we are not aware of the character that we're displaying. And we're forgetting that the righteous are scarcely saved, according to 1 Peter. And that judgment begins at the household of God, not with what political party. It doesn't begin with the non-Christian. God, it begins with the household of God. So when I ask you, how are y'all voting? I don't mean who are you voting for, but how's your heart? How's the character? You see, a lot of people are astute at communicating what they call the doctrines of grace. But the great apostasy is not people leaving the religion of Christianity. They're leaving the character of it. See, you can say what the doctrines of grace are, but people are lacking the character of grace. The Bible does not say love your enemies and pray for your enemies unless they vote opposite of you. It doesn't say love your brothers unless they vote opposite of you, unless they disagree with you. The Bible does not say that. And people, when you bring that up, they think like you're just, oh, so what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to obey God. We're supposed to pray. We're supposed to obey God. And we're so lost as a nation. And the church, I'm talking about the church right now. I'm not even talking about the country. The church is so lost in America that we actually think that God cares more about if we vote red or blue than what we say and what's in our heart towards people who we disagree with. We really think that God, who is sovereign over all things, is sitting there like, please vote to end that law, abortion. Please vote against those rights. Please expose the white supremacy and the white privilege of the right. Please expose the greed. Please. Man, God could knock all that out in a second. You think that it's who sits in the White House that is determining whether or not laws get passed of how long abortion ban? You think that's really the people? That God isn't sovereign over that? God has a purpose in all that he does, and I don't always understand it, and I don't always like it, but I ain't going to pretend like we're really down here doing more than we think. You and I would cease to exist unless God sustains us. So let's kind of act like we have some sense and remember what's going on here. So how are you voting? Not who are you voting for, but are you offended? Or better, are you afraid? You see, a lot of the politics, and this is what I think God's exposing. I think he's exposing that many believers are in a stupor of fear. Because we're so theological. We're so afraid of losing tax purposes or rising groceries or all these things. Do you know that in the wilderness, I was looking at this the other day, that God kept Israel for 40 years and it said their clothes never wore out and their shoes never. For 40 years, these Bama's didn't have no holes in their clothes. No holes in their clothes. For 40 years, he kept them peoples. And we're over here worried about grocery bills and gas bills and all this type of stuff. Like the Lord is just like, well, depending on who gets in the White House, you're just going to starve and die. And if God decides that, is he not God though? Do you honestly think that who sits in the White House determines what happens with laws in this country? God, we're not deists that God winded up and he's just watching from a distance. I'm not a deist. I'm a theist. I'm not an atheist. I'm a theist. And even if I don't always understand that, I believe God knows what he's doing. The kingdom of heaven for us right now is the kingdom of character. What fruit of the Spirit are you demonstrating when you're watching, making videos, and who you're agreeing with? Because that's what God's going to judge you by. That's what he's going to judge you by. Not if you voted red or blue because you cared about this. God said this, look, 1 John 4:20. Whoever says I love God and hates his brother is a liar, and the truth is not in him. He said, you cannot love God whom you haven't seen and not love your brother whom you have seen. I don't know who you are, where you're at when you're watching this, but I think there's a lot of professing Christians that hate other Christians that do not agree with their voting perspective. They feel the need to be, think about this. Do you realize this, right? I was watching Ruslan's video today. And it was a live video. I don't know if it's posted, but it was like a debate between a guy voting Republican and Democrat. I was watching this video. And then all of a sudden, the guy who's on the conservative side, the right side, he started calling like people fools. And it was foolish and this and that. And it was like, and Ruslan was like, yeah, I agree with that. I think it's foolish. I don't think he said fools, but he said foolish, right? But the other guy was like, I think if I remember correctly, I could be wrong. But if I remember correctly, the guy was saying these are fools, and he said fools and foolish. Do you know in Matthew 5, Jesus said, if you say to your brother, Raka, which is translated, you fool. Jesus said, if you call your brother a fool, you are liable to the hellfire of judgment. Think about that for a second. I should pull that bad boy up so y'all know that I'm not just talking off the side of my neck. Jesus said, if you call your brother a fool, you are liable to the hellfire, right? This is crazy. We're gonna get into it, get involved. Cause I want y'all to see it. So y'all be like, listen, look at this. Here we go. Here's what Jesus says right here, baby. Right here, baby. Here's what Jesus says. He says, you have heard it was said of those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Listen to this part. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council. And whoever says, you fool, will be liable to the hell of fire. That's what Jesus says. And I was watching that happen with these guys. And I've seen it happen a lot. Now, some of you might say, yeah, but you just said that they were pathological liars and stuff like that. You judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. And that's a balance. It's a balance. But I'm not angry in my heart at Kamala Harris because the connection is the anger in the heart. I'm not angry in my heart at them. I just don't trust them. And I think I don't trust the American political system for many reasons. What were we supposed to do? Not vote? Do you know, and I'm going to end with this, that we could have had a third way a long time ago. And I'm not talking about a third political party. You know, in the Old Testament, well, I didn't even say this part, and this is where I give John Piper this credit 4 years ago. He basically put out an article that said he wasn't voting because he used the Old Testament how the kings would corrupt the people. Like it's a rare occasion when you look at the 20 kings that were in the northern kingdom of Israel and the 19 in the south. All 20 kings in the north were bad, evil kings. And it said they caused Israel to sin on multiple occasions. Just read this in Kings. 1st, 2nd Kings, all that, right? And then the southern kingdom, there were 6 good kings. I think 2 were good completely. 3 started off good, 1 started off bad, ended up being good. 2 started off good, ended up being bad, right? There was a little bit more character there. But they always, whatever side they were on, it affected the nation. So John Piper said he didn't want to vote because he felt like Trump has affected the people in a negative way. And I totally agree with him. I thought, man, very astute. And he got attacked by conservatives. They were offended and all this stuff, right? I think this. I don't know who you're voting for, but God's going to judge you on how you're voting. How you're voting. And I said this to my church 4 years ago, and I'll end with this statement now. If you are angry at another Christian for how they vote, then you are not mature enough to vote at all. You're not mature enough. Because no American political process, I don't care what it stands for, no American political process gives us the right to sin against people who profess to believe like we do, right? Even when they're sinful, church discipline is not hate these people now. It's discipline them so that they repent and return, right? That's the point of church discipline. It's to help people realize, hey, this is what life without God is like, without community is like. But we will insult people left and right. Left and right. I failed at it at times, and I've had to ask the Lord to help me. We will entertain gossip and love it and this and that. I've been guilty of all of that. But I don't really watch a lot of gossip blogs anymore. Like YouTube channels, I'm just like, man, the kingdom of heaven is the kingdom of character. And so many of us think it's the kingdom of causes. As if God is sitting there like, oh man, please vote this down so that... I just don't think so. I think God sometimes allows evil to persist. Well, not even, I don't think. God allows evil to persist to test his people. To see. You think it's a coincidence that we only have 2 political parties that really have power in the country, I mean. And that they both are seemingly moving. One never really been about the church, and the other one has lied and said that it was about some of the causes and are now drifting away from that. And we're sitting there still holding on to and fighting for what we think. And you know what glorifies God more than policies on abortion being changed? Is his people imitating the character that he's commanded. And in the Old Testament, this could have been the third way. They called upon the name of the Lord when they were in distress. And he answered. He raised up someone. Many people think that someone is Trump. I don't. Many people think that someone is Kamala, the first black. I don't. He raised up a person that loved him and that we're going to live by his statutes. Why do we think he couldn't do that today? We want God to raise up or give power to an unregenerate person who has no desire to glorify him. And we want them to pass laws that we think are better for us. And we will fight with other people who will spend eternity in heaven with us because they don't agree that the unregenerate person who does not love God is better than the other unregenerate person who does not love God. This is just me though. You're probably in the comment section, jawboning, cool. We're going to go to the tape, but that's where I'm at. So I don't care who you vote for. I care how are you voting. Are you really afraid that if someone wins, the country's going to be... What you're really afraid of is you just don't want to persevere through hard times. America has given the church in America a perspective that suffering is not something that we should go through. It's something that third world Christians go through. But we should be protected from suffering. And Scripture says, indeed, 2 Timothy 3:12, all who desire to live a godly life will be persecuted. And if persecution comes, if it comes via people who vote policies that we don't like, then we have to be like Lot. It said Lot was tormented in his righteous soul over the evil that he saw in Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot could have moved though. Lot could have left, but he didn't. He stayed there. Nobody was forcing Lot to stay there. We know that he fled to another city, right? that was near them. He could have been like, I'm out of here, man. These people are wilding. No, sometimes as believers, we're going to have to be tormented in our righteous souls for what happens. Now, granted, we do have some sway, at least perceived sway, that can affect that, but ultimately, no, we don't. We do not have the impact that we think we do. And largely because we do not, as a church, have the character that we're supposed to have. We're no different than the world, and we will argue and fight over the same things they argue and fight over, and we think that, like, God is pleased. Please. But what do I know? Let's go to the tape. It's wild, but we trust in Christ 100%, bro. Good to see you, fam. Appreciate you, Jose. Always good to see you, bro. I dislike them both. I see you. I detect no lies there. Bro, we know you out here living to the glory of God in Christ, and you got responsibilities. So whenever you make time to get some perspective, it's appreciated. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man. Free Palestine. I hear you. It was staged. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. It was real as a photo op. Yeah, I bet it was. I knew it was. I mean, I'm not. What are we talking about right here? Trump at McDonald's. I wasn't going for it. He was there, but it was rented out, not serving real customers. I don't think so at all. I'm not voting. Neither am I, Jose. I'm not voting. I'm not voting in the presidential election. I'm not voting. I can't vote for someone funding the murder of children in the Middle East. 100%. Don't vote for him. No one's saying that. The Orthodox Church stands with Palestine. Cool. I don't think you can be a Christian and support either candidate that funds bombing churches. What do you mean by support? And see, this is the other thing. This is why I don't tell people you can't vote this way and be a Christian. Because, and let me tell you why. In 1 Samuel, right, when they came to Samuel and said that they wanted a king, like the surrounding nations, Samuel he wept, he was upset. And the Lord said, don't worry about it, stop crying. They didn't reject you, they rejected me, right? And he said, I'm going to give them a king, and they're going to see what it's like to have a king instead of me, and rejected me as the king. And then he told him to go to a certain location, and he was looking at it, and he was like, oh, it must be him. He's a good-looking dude. He looks like it. And God said, nah, don't judge by that. He said, man looks at the outward appearance, but God judges the heart, right? When you say you're not a Christian if you vote such and such, you're doing exactly what Samuel did. Oh, this is and he was like, nah, God judges the heart. Everyone who votes, whether they vote, when you say support, support to me would mean they are for it. They agree with it, and they're voting because they want it to continue. And I think if that's what you're saying, then you got to prove that, Malongo. What I think is happening is many Christians judge by appearance. They think if you vote this way, you're not a Christian. But when you stand before God, he's going to judge the heart. He knows the wrestle that you have in your soul. He knows that many of us are like Lot, tormented in our righteous souls over the stuff that we see in the country. He knows that. I don't care what you say. If you think that just pressing a button and voting for a candidate means you support, you got to prove that. We got two choices. Or you cannot vote. I'm not voting. And I stand by that. I don't care none of that stuff about what black people did all this. Cool. That means black people gave me the choice to vote or not. Doesn't mean I have to. It means I have a choice. I can actually have a choice now, and I choose not to. Because it's not even just supporting these candidates. I can't support believers who lose their character, who I think will stand before God and be told, you're not an actual believer. Let's go there with it. I think some of this stuff is people are going to be shocked. Lord, didn't we do that? We voted for the right people. We did this. We didn't do that. And it says you didn't love people. You didn't love people. I don't know you. He said, I remember, and he's going to show in the word, they will know you by your love for one another. And then he's going to show all the time that you tore down other believers because I just think some of us are going to be shocked. Some of us are going to be real shocked, fam. Undecided whether or not to vote. I'm with you. Well, I'm not undecided, but I feel that. I've been Christian. I've seen Christians go harder for politics. Man, Jose, man, talk that talk, bro. You ain't saying, bro, I'll see people defend Trump or whatever and don't go hard in the paint for the Lord at all, bro. Like I think that right there is real. not voting. I feel you, JV. I feel you, man. And that's the truth. Not for president anyway. I'm with you, fam. Jose. Appreciate you, Framo. You always do that, man. You always come through. You always look out, man. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you, fam. Facts. Appreciate that. Thank you. Polychristians. You know about that. That's that old school joint I used to say. Polychristians. I used to hit that joint all the time. Agree. Thank you. I'm not sure what I said then, but I appreciate that, bro. The two are just different sides of the same. 100% believe in hope. Like, why am I going to argue? Don't get me wrong. This is my thing. Vote your conscience, because when you stand before the Lord, He's going to evaluate that. Don't listen to what nobody says. Vote your conscience, but don't lose your conscience for a vote. Like, vote your conscience, but don't sin against the Lord and by sinning against other believers because you disagree with them. Like, I'm telling you, this idea, it's arrogant to assume that someone's eternal destination, whether they will burn in hell or not, is connected to voting red or blue on November 5th or whatever. You have to be kidding me. That's the criteria the Lord is going to use? Man, how arrogant are we? How unloving is that? Jeez. Oh, but what about if they didn't vote for slavery, and then what would you say about that? Well, they didn't for a long time. What are you talking about? They didn't vote for slavery. Christians were teaching it was good. Some of the greatest theologians, Jonathan Edwards, they said was like the most unique mind in America. George Whitefield and all that, they didn't vote for it. They all sang Amazing Grace every week, but didn't apply the same amazing grace that changed John Newton from a slave trader to an abolitionist. They didn't. And then when they got rid of slavery, then they put in Jim Crow for another 90 years. Don't act like that type of stuff is just like, man, you can't, man, listen. Some of us know what we talking about, fam. We get it. We don't insult our intelligence, bro. We get it. We understand. We should focus on our local. I think that's true. Focus on the local. That's what the school board and all that stuff. Focus on that. Focus on the school board. Because, state, municipalities, counties and stuff, they can push back against federal government. They can push back, man. It ain't like you can't just come in there and tell them whatever. They can push back. As Christians, how are we to righteously vote when we are dealing with corruption on both sides? Yeah. You know what, though, Ashley? I don't. So I don't know if it's about righteously voting. I think you could. I don't know what would glorify God, to be honest. I don't know what would glorify God. I do not think because one side is more for abortion than the other, or has more extreme views on sexuality than the other, that God is more pleased with one or the other. There's stuff that God sees that we don't even know about. So I just think you have to vote your conscience. Like, whatever does not proceed from faith is sin, right? We know that much. That's Romans 13, I think. Whatever does not proceed from faith is sin, right? And James says that. I think if you don't have faith to vote, don't do it. If you have faith to vote, then vote your conscience, but don't lose your conscience for a vote. I think we glorify God not by, so like right here, Dre Day for Christ. Trump is a better choice over Kamala. Based on what criteria? If you're talking about economics and stuff, cool. If you're talking biblically, I just disagree. And I'm not saying that, I just don't think it's just that cut and dry. I do not. I think Trump is an evil thing. Richard Mein Kampf, there it is. That's the joint that Hitler wrote, that largely was inspired by the eugenics period in America. Go look this stuff up. Go look this up. So don't get me wrong. I think abortion is deplorable. I think it's deplorable. But all this virtue, I'm going to use a term that I can't stand, all the virtue signaling, show me about 60 million babies. Man, don't act like that's the only sin that America is guilty of. What about all these families that got destroyed? Wait till the Lord says what he's. I don't know what he's going to say. I just think, man, it's not what we think is going on. It's not what we think. In agreement with Brother Kurt, why are we Christians so easily fooled by the Democrats and Republicans, man? Believe in hope. Say that. Was that song? Do that to me one more time. That's what I'm talking about. Why are we saying? We have to have wisdom. Let us use our God-given wisdom. Let us use our given wisdom from God and stop the nonsense. And she's not talking about wisdom to know who to vote for. The wisdom of God is to fear the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of what? Where is the fear of the Lord? Where's the fear of the Lord? The Bible wasn't written for democratic society. So we're applying. So you don't apply principles of voting. You apply character. Where's the fear of the Lord is character. When you fear the Lord, you obey him. When the Bible says they do not have any fear of the Lord in their eyes, they say that because they're disobeying him. They're not tripping off of what he thinks. The fear of the Lord, the wisdom from God is not what candidate is better. So I don't want to hear none of that. The wisdom from God is to fear the Lord and to walk in the way that he walked. If anyone trusts the Lord, let him purify himself as he is pure and walk in the way that Jesus walked. I just think, man, don't get me started, man. He's exposed. I'm already started. I know, right? That's that black talk, man. I'm almost done and be 35 minutes later. Bow your head. He's exposing that he's the Most High and will not be mocked by anyone. I love it, bro. And that's what I believe. I believe that. I believe that 100%. The evils of capitalism are as real as the evils of militarism and the evils of racism. 100%, famo. Call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, but there must be a better distribution of wealth within this country for all God's children. 100%. I agree with that. 100%. I agree with that, famo. God is like, wow, your channel always helps my peace. Thank you so much, Lish. I definitely quieted my words and become observant. I'm focused on my vertical relationship. That right there, what Lish just said right there, that right there is what every believer needs to do. We do not change the country like we think. And I am not looking to a dude like Trump or a woman like Kamala to usher in nothing. Nothing. I've said this before and people misunderstand it. I am not concerned with who sits in the White House because I know who sits on the white throne. And whatever we got to go through, whether I like it or not, I'm trusting the Lord. Peter said, where are we going to go? You got the keys to eternal life. What a lot of believers don't want to do is they don't want to suffer. They don't want to do what Lish is talking about right here. Focused on my vertical relationship. The kingdom of heaven is the kingdom of character. It's not the kingdom of causes. You will not be evaluated by red or blue. You'll be evaluated by blood red. Blood red. Not Republican red. Lish. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Lish. Thank you. Comment creators are going to be mad, Kurt. They are going to be mad. Comment creators are always mad. They always mad at the dog. But I'm all right with that. I get it, man. Listen. So because I'm an ex-street dude, I've been in shootouts. I've been shot at. I've been almost murdered. I'm talking about driving. The dude pulled up, dumped bullets in the car. And I didn't even know if I was hit, pulled off. Didn't know if my man was hit. Bullet holes in my seats, all of that. I've been shot at. If comment creators think, because they say, well, I just disagree with you and you're, what? If they think that rattles me, it's laughable. When I put the thumbs up, it's because I see it getting blurry. I'm trying to fix the screen. I just think it's laughable to me. And the new album, right? I'm dropping an album November 1st, all right? Make sure y'all get this joint. I'm going to talk about it more closer to the day. The Assassination, right? This is the new project, The Assassination. I'm dropping this November 1st. And I have, ironically, it's like we're called JFK, Jesus for King. It's featuring JP and that's my worship leader, and Kirk Kennedy. You know who that is. And on this album, I got this bar where I say, my son told me, it's a B. I say, my son told me pick this. He was sitting in my office my son told me get this. He was sitting in my office when I picked it. He the one that be checking on his dad when he knows that people mad and they got me on their hit list. Hoping that I'm scared as a witness. Me being afraid, me being a chicken is with fries and some biscuits. So, man, I ain't afraid of these people, man. The people act like that I'm afraid of, like, people unfollowing my channel. Man, so what, fam? What you talking about? That has nothing to do with me. Like, okay, unsubscribe, bro. Like, life goes on, man. I'm not, so it's just funny, man. I think the only problem of being gay the only problem of being gay is being not others being. I have no idea what that means, Christian Stone, but Jasmine Jones, Jasmine Altman, Jasmine, man. Listen, Jasmine, Lish, Jose, man, I hope I meet y'all this side of glory. I hope that, I don't know where people live at. I hope I'm out in the D.C. area. I hope somehow I meet some of y'all. We just hug and laugh and talk, and because I bang with y'all, man. I appreciate it, Jasmine. Thank you. You be coming through like a crook through the window, sneaking through, dropping it, boom. Thank you, Jasmine. So I can't wait for election season to be over. This has really exposed many hearts. Yeah, both parties lie and dangle issues in people's faces, knowing they do not intend to fix them. That right there, that is the comment of the month, right there. Both parties lie and dangle issues in people's faces, knowing they do not intend to fix them. Jasmine, man, I'm telling you, they like to keep us divided and fighting. We are the divided states of America, 100%. Thank you for that, Jasmine. Thank you for that super chat. Incredible. Conservatives lie and have a lot of fascists, while liberals have an intent of nothing and intent of just winning. I think it's deeper than that, but I appreciate it. Trump is Hitler. Nah, Hitler's a dude who died a while ago, but I hear you. Word is statistics show that 50% of... I saw that too. I saw that. I actually am surprised by that, and I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad for that, actually. I'm glad. I think all Christians should just be like, you know what? We're going to pray. We're going to do, and this is the problem. Here's the deeper reality. Man, y'all always make me want to preach a little bit more. Y'all always make me. Here's the deeper reality. A lot of Christians they trust politics more than prayer. They just do. They think what will move the nation is policies, not prayer. That like God is so handicapped that he needs unregenerate men and women to pass laws so that he can move. So we trust politics more than prayer. So you talk about people praying, they'll mock that, they'll laugh at that, and think that that's just like juvenile. And shoot, they called to the name of the Lord in the Old Testament for real, and they said God heard their cry. I just think it's. So I'm glad Christians aren't voting. I'm glad that 50% are not, but I hope they're praying though. I hope that we're praying. That is so true. It seems like a lot of politicians in the media are trying to drum up fear and anger in people. If we're led by the emotions, we will not. 100%. I mean, politics is based on fear. Do you know what's going to happen if Kamala gets in the White House? Do you know what he's going to do when he gets in that White House? It's all based on fear. You know what, Slim? If I'm not mistaken, Jesus said something about do not worry about tomorrow. Let tomorrow worry about itself. Worry about today. So deal with today. Don't worry about that. Don't have anxiety over that. The Lord, you are worth many sparrows. If he provides for them, will he not provide for you? The reality is we don't suffer in America, and we hate the thought of it. And so suffering to us comes politically because we're not worried about other nations attacking us. We're worried about political or ideologies attacking us. As if like we're supposed to live in like we really think this is the heaven on earth. That was a song by Belinda Carlisle, fam. That ain't no theology. That was her, wasn't it? Ooh, baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, hey. I bet you, Lish, I bet you that was your song, Lish. I bet you. That's something you were singing back in grade school. You and your friends with the brush at the window. They in heaven. I know, that was the white girl joint. I remember. You just encouraged me, fam. God knows the wrestling in my heart, and I want to serve him so much. 100%, bro. Listen, believers are going to be like Lot in this day and age, where we are tormented in our righteous souls over the communities that we see, but we can't just get up and leave. So we got to be tormented for a season until the Lord says, I'm bringing you home or I'm coming back. And that's the reality. What are you saying? Don't vote because you don't care if people kill babies? No, that's what you said. That's not what I said. I'm not saying you, Jose. I'm just mimicking people who talk like that. That's the craze. So what are your thoughts on Trump praising Hitler? You know what my thoughts are? This is what I honestly believe, Hugo. This is what I honestly believe. I'm glad you asked that question. Someone else made reference to that. Trump loves Hitler. I think John said that. Yeah, right here. John said that. My bad, John. I skipped over that. Trump loves Hitler, hates black people. Cool. George Bush doesn't care about black people. Sound like Kanye, baby. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Trump praising Hitler? Here's what I honestly think. That statement is God exposing Donald Trump and showing that our bias, when we care about a person's theology or when we want them to be in power, we'll dismiss crazy stuff like that. Let me give you another historical example. The reformer Martin Luther. Yes, he started the Reformation October 31st, 1517 by placing 95 Theses in the church in Wittenberg's front door. Started the Reformation. But everyone who knows enough about Martin Luther knows that he was anti-Semitic and hated the Jews. To be honest with you, when you hate, like, now I don't know his life, but he has some rhetoric that's wild. If you hate like that, then he might not have made it to heaven. People are like, how could you say that? He had good theology. In Matthew 23, Jesus said the Pharisees sit on Moses' seat, meaning but so observe what they tell you, but don't imitate what they do. In other words, they know the law, they know theology, listen to it. I'm going to still use them, but don't imitate them because they're not going to heaven. So God, Jesus, Matthew 23, verses 1-3, read it for yourself. Jesus is saying, I'm going to allow people to teach truth, even though they're living a lie. And when they die, they're not going to make it. But if you listen to what they say, but not imitate what they do, you will. God doesn't care about your theology. He cares about the heart. Martin Luther hated the Jews. So when Trump says that, I think God's just exposing who he is so that people can really, believers, can see what's going on. And they'll still support him and still love him because they're afraid of what will happen if Kamala wins. God would never support the hate that Trump spreads, 100%. But that has nothing to do, again, see that word support. So if Trump wins in the White House, does that mean God supports his hate? No, that's my point. When we use words like support, what do we mean? Because if I vote for something, doesn't mean I support everything he says. Some of you watch my videos, might bang with me, might like it, but you might not agree with everything I say. I hear that sometimes. And that's fine. You don't have to. So if someone said, well, if you watch his videos, you support everything he says. No, I like some of the stuff Kirk Kennedy says. Some stuff I agree with, some stuff I don't. There's no shame in that. That's everyone. Ruslan's my dude. I don't bang with everything he says. I bang with him. We text all the time. That's my dude. I bang with him. When I go to San Diego, I'm like, what's up? I'm in town. Let's get it. Let's hang out. Boom. Come through. Let's go out. Have dinner with our families and stream. That's my dude. Do I bang with everything? No. Does he bang with everything I say? No. KB, cool dude. Cool dude. Bang with KB. Do I agree with everything they say on their podcast? No. Does he agree with everything I say? No. But everything, the word support, what does that even mean? What that means is you think it's the same thing when you say, well, I agree, you agree with everything that stands for. And it's like, nah, it just doesn't. Have people thought about voting? Have people thought voting third party? I don't think the answer is voting third party, though. And I get what you're saying, Imani. I think that's I don't think that's the answer, though. I think the answer for believers is call upon the name of the Lord. Turn your joy in the morning, you sinners. Let's listen to what James said. Let's go look at the Beatitudes. You want to know how to get to heaven? Put your faith in Jesus. What's the character? He lists 9 characteristics. Let's just hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are those who mourn, right? Who are poor in spirit. Let's try to imitate those instead of trying to figure out who's a better president. I don't even think it's about a third party, to be honest. I just don't even think I don't think that's even the issue. Trump is not good for the economy. Depends on who you ask. I'm definitely anti-Harris. Well, a lot of people would agree with you. DSA deserves a beneficial party. Maybe. I'm definitely anti-Trump. And a lot of people standing with you. Not saying that Trump is a good representation, but he stands against things that the Bible clearly shows to be evil. He stands against things that the Bible shows to be evil but we don't know if he really stands against them in his heart, though. That's not the issue. God looks at the heart, right? Trump stands against those things to keep certain things and to get in office. Yeah, he may have raised up, but he made some promises. He put a couple of Supreme Court justices in there. Cool. But then he switched up on the abortion ban. Now it's 15 weeks. And most Christians want abortion completely wiped out. Listen to big time conservatives like Al Mohler and flipping out. They're not happy because they see it. You know what's crazy? Some believers seem to be more okay with agreeing to disagree theologically or biblically. But Richard, this is the second best comment of the month. You right behind Jasmine. Some believers seem to be more okay with agreeing to disagree theologically or biblically, which has eternal implications. Man, Rich, you preaching right now. Ha talabu shatata, boo boo tu shata, boo boo, boo boo tu sha. I have no idea. When pastors be doing that, I'd be like, man, you is test a lion right now. Even if you agree with the gifts of the Spirit, where's the interpretation, man? People become hallelujah. That pastor be ha talabu talabu shatata. I don't agree with. I don't believe none of that. But we gonna speak in fungs. That's called fungs, fake tongues. But don't seem to agree with one another on fellow Christians. About 100%, Rich for the win. Rich and Jasmine got quotes of the night, and Lish, Rich, man, quotes of the month, man. What are we talking about right now? And here goes Jasmine right behind Richard. That's true. Some people have elevated politics to a primary 100. Primary issue, man. I should have, what am I talking for? Next time I'm gonna just do a little, get about 4 or 5 of y'all on here. Let's just have a discussion. That's what we might do. I might try to be like, let's reach out, let's get on here and have a discussion. Come on the joint, let's get it. Cause I'm getting ready to come. I took a little break, but it's time to come back, man. It's time to come back around the way. It's more of a secondary or tertiary issue where we can just 100%. Rich, my dude, appreciate you, bro. Rich, man, you one of the OGs. You, Lish, Jose, Jasmine. Man, y'all just, wow. Y'all hold me down. I'm grateful for that, man. As a Christian, I support Israel, but don't agree with everything they do. And I love Palestine, too. The people that's not there. 100%. 100%. Jasmine is cooking. Hey, man, listen, man. Y'all in the kitchen. Y'all putting Gordon Ramsay to shame right now. Y'all in the kitchen cooking right now. I'm telling you. I do not look to politicians as spiritual leaders. I vote based on whose policies I agree with more. This two-party system sucks. I vote for KH, but if another Christian votes differently, that's okay. Top G1, there it is. That's what I think. I think however you vote, all of us, whatever you do, right? 1 Corinthians 10:31. Why is the camera's tripping? I guess because I'm shaking the table a little bit. 1 Corinthians 10. Whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, do all to the glory of God. You do it if that's what your conscience allows for, then do it. And you'll give an account to Him, not to. If you give it, you don't have to give an account to people who voted differently. I just think it's stupid. I knew it, Lish. I knew it. I knew it. Belinda Carlisle, baby. I knew it. Wow. Brandon, my dude. Thank you, bro. Thank you, brother. See, look, when I start throwing blows, the camera don't know what to do. It don't know what to do. Stop playing, bro. Cut it out, bro. I definitely appreciate the righteous perspective because of the polarization, political idolatry, but I think this vote is critical. Yeah, I feel you, man. I think they say that every 4 years, bro. This vote is critical. I just don't think it's that critical. I don't. I think every vote is critical on one level, but I don't think every vote is critical to my faith as a believer. I don't think so. Let's go, Rich. Yep, fact. Some of Luther's anti-Semitic ideas apparently were borrowed by 100%. What if the Lord is like, look, man, y'all, man, never mind. Absolutely, we disagree on 49ers and Commanders, 100%, bro, 100%. But keep in mind, let's keep it a buck. San Francisco, my second favorite city. I go there and preach at least once a year since 2009. And remember when I did my sabbatical? We was in Cali and San Francisco, right? I was preaching every week at the church. I love San Francisco, and I would vote for the 49ers. If I hadn't picked up McCaffrey for fantasy and he hadn't even played all season and ruined my team, I had the first pick in the fantasy draft. So no, I'm not worried about no 49ers. It's Commanders, baby. And keep in mind that in the Bible, it's the 10 commandments. Commanders. Commandments. Keep in mind. Never mind. I don't know how we uplift these men of old. Some men of us today, through theology, trumps everything else they did. 100%. Cool to lover. Bro, I don't know if you're a dude. Cool to lover. I imagine you are with that name. I don't know many women who would choose the name Cool to lover. Listen, I don't know how we uplift these men. I just think we give these people credit. We don't even know. We don't know if Jonathan Edwards made it into the kingdom or not. We don't know. You can appreciate. I mean, Jesus said, look, these people sit on Moses' seat. Okay. Red down the line. Cool, Cold Spring. Trump every day, all day. Cool. Do you? I heard that Kamala is not with Israel and Trump is. Is that true? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think it could be true. Ashley Adler. Hey, Ashley. Vonda, I'm a woman, and I don't think a woman should be president. Were there any women leaders of countries in the Bible? We had the Queen of Sheba, was a big deal. She was a big deal. You had Deborah was a judge. But like, this isn't a Christian nation, so it's not a one-to-one. Like, we can't. So we have the world and the church, right? So 1 Corinthians 5, Paul says, look, when I did not say, I basically said I wasn't talking about, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not in the mood to quote it. I wasn't saying don't have nothing to do with the world. I wasn't meaning unbelievers. He said I have nothing to do with sexually immoral, idolaters, all that. He said I'm not talking about the unbelievers. He said then you would have to go out of the world. I'm talking about those who associate, who claim to be brothers and sisters, who act this way, have nothing to do with them. So I don't make those kind of comparisons between the church, and I think that's something totally different. What the Bible does, the Bible isn't dealing with America as a nation. So women being a president really isn't. It's not about whether that's biblical or not. It's more about just this is what we have. I voted red for the first time as a Democrat. I hear that. LOL. Guys, he's scraping down the comments. I don't know what that means. I don't know what scraping down means. If you mean I'm just going through them, I am. I'm about to end though because this has been a long video, and I'm trying to go watch a little bit of Thursday Night Football. Actually, I don't even care now. It's 9:49. That's another thing wrong with this country. Women are going into men's spaces and men into women's spaces. Now that's a different conversation. I don't know if being the president is that, but that's a different conversation, and that's true. Like the men getting into women's sports, people don't want boundaries. They want everything to go. Yeah. I detect no lies. I think people want boundaries. They want boundaries on what Christians believe. They want boundaries on us. Rams and Vikings. Yeah, I want to check it out. I mean, the Rams aren't even that good this year. They're 2-4, right? I picked up Justin Herbert. No, not Justin. Yeah, he's not the quarterback for them. I'm tipping the Chargers. Not mine. But yeah, they're 2-4, and I think Vikings are 5-1. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see about it. All right, man. I'm out of here. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for the super chats. Like and subscribe. My apologies for being out of pocket, but I had to take care. But we gonna come. We got some things to hit. I'm just trying to get through because I feel like everybody's talking about the election, and I just don't feel like talking about that. So it's just kind of boring. So I haven't been inspired to make many videos. But I thought, let's give a perspective on that. So, but I appreciate y'all. Thank you so much. I will be back tomorrow, but it won't be politics. I have other things to talk about. But I appreciate y'all. Like and subscribe. Leave comments on the actual video. Let's let the thing get up. We was talking today. Keep in mind when I go through this, half my videos are what y'all say. So y'all comments are out there. People need to hear what some of y'all are saying too, because y'all said some tough stuff. Appreciate y'all. Thank you. Grace and peace. See you next video.